Hello and welcome to a new episode of Next Generation Landscape Architecture. Today with me, Rahel Küng.
Hélène Hang.
Today's episode is all about the European Master's Program in Landscape Architecture. Never heard of it? Hélène does the European Master's Program and will tell you all about it. Enjoy listening. So, Hélène, can you just present yourself briefly? Who are you and how did you get into landscape architecture?
Yes, of course. I am Hélène, and I am currently doing the European Master in Landscape Architecture. And initially, I didn't really know what landscape architecture is. After school, I did an internship, a very short internship in an architecture office, and I didn't like it that much because I had the feeling something was missing, something more green, something more ecological. So I was just looking around, researching about different study programs I could do. But I knew that I want to move to Berlin because I come from Luxembourg and it's quite small and it's very common for us to go to bigger cities to study. So I was looking at TU Berlin, and then I found landscape architecture, and somehow it's immediately clicked. I was like, okay, this is it. I want to study it. And once I started it, I noticed, okay, it's perfect because it includes design and it's ecological part. So yeah, that's how I came to landscape architecture.
Okay, cool. So you did your bachelor's in Berlin.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And how did you find the European Master's Program?
I knew that I don't want to do my master's in Berlin, but I knew that I want to do a master's. And I come from a very international background. I would say my parents come from Asia, and then I grew up in Luxembourg, and there we learn quite a few languages such as French, German, and English. So I wanted to go somewhere where I can also practice my French again. Since living in Germany for 3 years, I kind of lost it a bit. And then I was just researching again, and I stumbled across this European master. But I also heard about it from a teacher that thought that accompanied us during a project, and somehow it sounded very intriguing, and I was really interested in the different schools that they offered, so I just tried applying and it worked.
So, and what exactly is a European Master? Can you just explain it in a few sentences?
Yes, of course. Such as EMiLA, I think there's only one European master that offers something like this in landscape architecture. EMiLA is a abbreviation for European Master in Landscape Architecture. EMiLA is a program provided by 5 universities, and you choose 3 locations. And each year they take, I think, 25 students. And the core element of it is to see landscape architecture from different perspectives, since the schools are located in very different geographic locations. And in each location, there are 5 EMiLA students. So everyone is a bit splitted, the EMiLA students, but which makes it really nice is that each year there's a obligatory summer school where the 25 students come together and finally can meet. It's a great moment to connect and to understand, oh, you're not alone in this program. And yeah, I think this makes it really special.
Where are the schools?
The 5 universities are in Hanover, in Versailles, in France, in Barcelona, Spain, in Edinburgh, and in Amsterdam. Yes.
Oh, cool,
Yeah.
cool. And how can you apply for this European Master?
You apply for this master as you would apply for any masters. You just choose where you want to have your base university. For me, it was Hanover. I applied for their normal landscape architecture program, but in this application, I specified that I want to do this EMiLA European Master, and I also specified my um, wishes where I want to do the 2 exchange semesters. And
Okay.
yeah, it was actually not Versailles nor was it Barcelona I had applied for, but yeah, it changed quite unexpectedly.
And why?
So I applied for Marseille and for Edinburgh. And for Marseille, I think it was too late. They didn't have any spots left. And for Edinburgh, initially it worked. I was also quite excited because I really liked the school. But a few months before my exchange semester started, they told me that there was some internal problems with the university. I don't know exactly what, but they couldn't take as many students as they had organized at the beginning. So they had to reduce the number of students. And sadly, I couldn't go.
Oh no.
No.
Yeah. And where have you studied? In which schools and how many semesters does this master's program take?
I studied in Hanover, where I'm right now, and I did my exchange semesters in Versailles and in Barcelona. Normally, you apply for a home institution and you start your first semester there and you write your thesis. So the last semester you go back, and in between the second and the third semester, you go to the other universities.
So this is like in 2 years you have your master's and you have visited like 3 countries, or it really depends which one you choose as your base one.
Yes, exactly. But it also depends. Um, there are some variations between the universities. For example, as far as I know, in Amsterdam, it's not 2 years. The master program lasts, I think, 4 years. But this is because they do like a half studying, half working program. So I think each week they change. You either work at an office or you go to university. But I think the other universities are 2 years.
Okay. And if you like have your base in Amsterdam, it's the master also takes longer.
Yes, I think in Amsterdam it is different.
Okay.
You would have to do the 4-year program, the whole master program.
But like as I understand it now that you are in your fourth semester, you did your first one in Hanover, the second one in Versailles, the third in Spain in Barcelona, and now the fourth your thesis semester again in Hanover.
Yeah, exactly.
And in which languages were the courses taught, like in all these different countries? Beforehand, you said you want to like again speak French and maybe also Spanish, but is it really that or is it in English?
I think most of the universities teach in English, but there are also some locations that only teach in their local language. For example, in Versailles, it was in French, and here in Hanover, it's in German. But as far as I know, in Germany, they also, like at Leibniz Universität, they also offer quite a lot of English programs. So I think it would be also possible to do the exchange in Hanover for non-German speaking people.
Okay.
And in Barcelona, my classes were in English. I think there it depends which semester you go, because I think in the first semester and in the fourth semester, the classes are taught in Spanish, but the two in between, they changed to English. I think it's also to encourage international students to do an exchange there.
Okay, cool. So you have spoken like German, French, and English like on your exchange.
Yes, like
When you are accepted for this program, you get like go into this group. Do you have like a WhatsApp group or do you meet or something? And you have a supervisor or how does it work?
There's no group when you start EMiLA, but when we were in the summer school, we created a WhatsApp group, but it has been inactive since. And at the beginning in Hannover, I got a supervisor that helps me with organizing things. And also, if I have any questions, I could always ask him.
Mhm.
Um, that was nice.
And did you also contacted him during your exchange semester abroad?
Yes, I had quite a lot of questions, so I was glad to know that there is someone I could always go back to ask my questions.
Okay, cool. And what were like the main topics which concerned you?
Um, as I said before, I didn't do all the courses in the exchange semesters, and I wasn't sure if I could drop these. And was mainly questions about uh, changing my curriculum and also adding another semester to my master's. These
Uh-huh.
things were possible. Also with the Erasmus funding, all that. There's one thing I just came up with that might be important to know is that during EMiLA, sometimes because you study at different universities and because sometimes the semesters overlap. So in Hannover, my first semester, the winter semester, went to March, and in Versailles, the summer semester started in February. So sometimes it was hard to keep on track everything.
And how did you do it? Just time
I
travel, probably.
I dropped some courses. That's why
Okay.
I dropped some courses. But I have a friend, she did all the courses, and she said the first few weeks were really hard because she had a lot of submissions in Hannover, but simultaneously she had things to do for Versailles. I think there's space for improvement here with these overlappments and organizing when something ends and when something starts.
Okay, but it's really important to know beforehand when you're planning to do it, and then maybe you can choose the countries for that, or like even work in between it and just go on a in one semester, like always in the winter semester, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Also for me, my semester in Barcelona ended mid-January, and it only started here in Hanover mid-April. So I had more than 2 months where I had no courses. Yes, but I chose to do some roofing there.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more now about your exchange in Versailles?
In Versailles, I noticed that their approach was very different. I think this is also what makes the EMiLA program so interesting because each school offers their own strengths. And I think Versailles is very strong in this more large scaled view of landscape architecture and also going a bit into this agrarian landscape. Um, they also combined a lot of artistic approaches that I didn't get in touch before that much. I really like arts and being creative, so I felt like Versailles was a good choice for me. Mm, yeah.
And how were the other students? Were they also Erasmus or EMiLA students, or were they locals? How was the mixture there?
We were only two EMiLA students, and we were the only exchange students that semester, but I know that the semester before had quite a lot of exchange students. But in my semester, all the other ones were local students that did their whole master in Versailles.
And was the location of the school in the garden of Versailles, in this vegetable garden?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was there once with also with Elata, I think a
Yeah,
few years back.
yeah, I've heard that you planted a tree there.
Yes, we did. That's totally cool.
Yeah, it's very
And
very
did you live like in a student dorm or accommodation, or did you have to like get something yourself, or how was this handled?
Sadly, I had to do everything myself, but yes, I have to say sometimes it was quite hard to find accommodation, especially since you have to change location every 5 to 6 months. Also depends on where you go. In Versailles was quite manageable, but in Barcelona the problem with accommodation there is quite big, so it was harder to find something more affordable. I think some EMiLA students also tried to find accommodations together, which would have been really nice is to create like a system where one student moves away, the other one can get the place and helping each other, the EMiLA students. But it's not so easy often because we all study somewhere else and I go somewhere else. So yeah, it's more
Yeah.
complicated.
Okay, yeah, but like there's room for improvement there, you say.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And what would you say about now going back again to Versailles is your biggest learning from there? And would you like recommend going there for one semester in like either exchange or also EMiLA program?
I think Versailles can be a very good location to go if you are interested in learning more artistic ways of approaching landscape architecture. But I have to say, sometimes it was a bit too conceptual for me. I was a bit lost at the beginning, especially because I am be- because I am used to having this structure and to get more specific orders what to do. And in Versailles, it often didn't feel like that. I was sometimes swimming a bit in the unknown. But I think it's also learning how to work maybe with such a more free way of planning. This also, I think this can also lead to more creative projects because you don't have this strict frame of what you can do.
Hmm. Cool. Well said. And now let's talk about Barcelona. So after your second semester in Versailles, you moved for your third semester to Barcelona. I think it was like half a year ago now.
Exactly. I just came back from Barcelona. My semester ended in January and it started in September, I think. Yes.
Okay, cool. And how was it there? What is the approach to landscape architecture? What is their sense of landscape architecture? And how were the classes?
So, Barcelona, I think they are more specialized in detailed implementation, I would say. They have a huge know how in public spaces. I don't know if you know about their urban planning.
I have heard
But
about it, yes. I've never
yeah,
been
they have.
there yet, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Barcelona city is putting a lot of effort into changing their urban structures, removing cars, and adding a lot of these smaller green pocket these green pocket spaces into the city. And you can really feel it when you walk around the city. It's very walkable, So it's really very nice city to live in. And for the classes, they are also very interesting. I did a project that was taught by Marty Frank. He's a landscape architect in Girona in Catalonia in the northeast of Spain. And I think I learned a lot there about a more sensitive way of planning, especially planning with trees and having this always thinking about how trees will evolve in a few years and working with concurrence. Yeah, that was very nice.
And would you say it's more like object planning, or or is it more wider, like city or regions? What, like, how is the scope there?
I think in Barcelona, it depends also in which semester you go there. As far as I know, their master program is structured that you have a different scale each semester. And I came in a semester where they were working in a more urban scale. So we were redesigning like a big, larger area of a city.
Yes, yes. So it really depends, and they
Yeah.
probably have like every aspect of it.
Yeah. When I talked to the local students, they said, for example, in the first semester, they worked more in a forest area. And then in the second semester, it was more regional and now more urban. And then the last project, I think, will be more smaller scale. I'm not sure entirely
Yeah.
because I didn't do
Okay.
my full master's there.
Would you recommend Hanover as your base university, or would you choose like differently now?
I think Hanover was a good choice for me to start because I did my bachelor's in Berlin. So I was used to this German program. Mm, It somehow felt more familiar also. So I would choose Hanover again, yes. But I also really like their courses here and their approach.
And what kind of courses are they, and what approach is it?
I don't know how it is in other German institutions, but in Berlin and at the TU Berlin and here at the Leibniz University, they always offer a few projects each semester, so you can choose based on your interests. And it wasn't like this in Versailles nor in Barcelona. There was only one project that you can do in that semester, and everyone has to do that project. Um, so I think what makes me happy to study is to choose the courses based on my interests. Yeah.
Okay, and what are your interests? What kind of area of the landscape architecture is it?
I am interested a bit in everything, but I think my main interests are participatory landscape architecture, but I also really like the design aspect, everything that goes more into an art direction. But I'm also really interested in ecological planning or a more holistic view of this whole. This is what makes landscape architecture so interesting to me because it has so many offers.
Okay, cool. And like a question more to the EMiLA program, wouldn't it be also just like easier to have your masters in, I don't know, in your home country, and then just do 2 semesters abroad? What is the difference between a normal master's and just doing semesters abroad and the EMiLA program?
I think with just doing 2 exchange semesters, you don't get this network that EMiLA has to offer since you are in contact kind of with these 25 students, if there are 25 students. But I think it's quite nice to have this European network.
Mhm.
Yeah. Also, at the end you get your diploma and then an extra certification that you did this European Master in Landscape Architecture. I think this can also help.
Okay. And would you say, like, what are the goals with this certificate or like with these master programs? Is it just to broaden your mind and work afterwards in a field where it's kind of an international approach, or is it also just useful for a simple office?
I think it can be useful also just in a simple office, but it definitely enriches your perspective, I think, because you learn from these different design approaches
Hmm.
and you can never learn enough. So you can also use these different design approaches in a smaller office.
Okay, yeah, that's true. What challenges did you entail, like study wise or with organization? You already mentioned to the accommodation was pretty hard to find. What other obstacles did you have to overcome?
Um, Went through, I think one of the main harder points I had to deal with was, as you said, the accommodation, all this logistic thing, applying for the Erasmus fund each semester. The master program is supported by Erasmus funds, but that's also the only support financially you get. And there are additional costs, of course, for living abroad and also the accommodation. So it is more expensive than just doing your master's entirely somewhere. And also with traveling, you have to pay these things
And
as
how much
far as
do you
you know.
get from Erasmus money?
I think it also depends on how much your parents make. But for me, I think I got for each month it was around 500 to 600 euros.
Hmm. To
Mm.
pay your rent and all your um,
Yeah,
living costs and everything.
which can be hard because alone for accommodation, you need much more money. Plus,
How much did you pay in France, in Versailles?
in Versailles,
Yeah,
my
for
place
your
to stay
accommodation and yeah.
in Versailles, I paid 620
Mhm.
each month, which is quite a lot. But I think,
Is it normal there?
yeah, I think it's quite normal
Yeah.
there. It was in the mid range, I would say. And I was sharing my apartment with two other girls. So it was a shared accommodation, but
Mhm.
still.
And in Barcelona?
In Barcelona, I paid 650 euros each month. So that was also, I think, mid range. There were also accommodations for much more, but also some for less. But it's really hard to get cheaper accommodations there.
And how about now in Hanover?
In Hanover, I am paying 480.
Okay. And what are like compared the living costs like for eating and going out 1 week, like in these three different countries? Like just roughly about, is it more about 50 or more about 100 euros? Is like in what range?
I was really paying attention with how much money I would spend weekly because since doing these exchange semesters, it's really hard to find a job. I had to quite, I had to
Budget?
be more. yeah, I had a limited budget also. Yeah, it really depends on your personal interests, how much you want to spend for your free time. Of course, you also do this program to get to know the city and to try the food there, maybe. But for me, I didn't spend that much for food, but I was rather ready to spend more money to visit museums or doing excursions with friends.
Okay, cool.
But yeah,
Like just the average living cost, like for you. Of course, you have your preferences, and
yeah.
you're also on a student budget. But just to, in comparison between these three countries, which one was like the most expensive or the most economic, something like that.
I think definitely Barcelona was the most expensive because I was also the most ready to spend more money there to discover the city
Yeah.
because they have a lot of things to visit. In Versailles, I didn't spend that much money for my free time because Versailles itself is quite small. And of course, you can go to Paris in the weekends because it only takes, I think, 30 minutes to get there by train. But I personally don't like Paris that much, so I didn't go there that much to enjoy my weekends. And in Hanover, I also don't spend that much money because I am still not working yet. So I think it's really important that to stay structured when you do this EMiLA program because you have to deal with this administrative work. Yes. But another point is socially, I would say, because it is normal, I think, to feel lonely sometimes, especially since you move around so much and it takes time to settle somewhere. I think I've heard that it takes at least 5 months to settle somewhere. This was a struggle I had sometimes during my EMiLA experience. But it also depends on how much you put an effort into talking to strangers and getting to know people. I think in the first exchange semester, I was a bit shy. I didn't talk that much to other students, but it was also due to my language barrier. I speak French, but there, what you can still notice that I am not a native speaker, so I was quite shy. But in Barcelona, I was quite lucky with finding friends.
Okay, that are a lot of obstacles. But what do you think is the upside of like experiencing all these different countries?
I think it's a quite unique experience. When would you get the chance to do such thing again? Of course, I have to say I feel very privileged that I can do this program, and I'm really thankful for it. But yeah, as I said, I think it's a very unique chance to be able to study EMiLA.
And for whom is it like suitable to do such an exchange? What would they need to bring with like the student?
I think EMiLA is a great program for anyone who is interested to work more internationally, also in a more European context, who wants to work out across the borders, because I think that often landscape architecture issues go beyond these borders, and also to have for everyone who wants to have a very unique experience of approaching landscape architecture.
The degree is recognized equally in all like participating countries. Also, like because it's Europe, we have the system of ECTS. So is it like everywhere the same? Would you say? And how many ETCs do you need to do each semester?
In these five big universities, they all work with the ECTS system, and I think it also depends where you study. But for me, in my case, Hanover, it was in total 120 ECTS. I think this is the most usual for master programs. And in each partner university, I did 30. And I didn't do 30 ECTS, but I should have done 30 ECTS. So I think they all work with this 30 ECTS system.
Yeah, but you did not do it. So how many did you do?
I did 25 and 28.
Okay. So you have to do the others again in Hanover, or how does it work?
Yes, exactly. I I will do more courses here in Hannover, but because of doing more courses in Hannover now, I will only write my master thesis in the fifth semester. So I will do one semester more than usual.
Okay, but it's also like totally possible to do that.
Yes, for Hannover's, yeah, when you study in Hannover, yes, but I am not sure how it works for other universities. Um, the school in Versailles is a bit more strict with the ECTS because I have a friend, she studied with me in Barcelona, and she told me that she has to do the 30 ECTS.
Yeah. Do you have something to add, like for this episode? Something you want to say?
Sometimes it's good to feel discomfortable because you learn the most out of these. And so, yeah, there were moments it was a bit hard, but I grew so much by with these moments.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to keep yourself like not only in the comfort zone, but also go out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now, so in 4 or 5 simple steps, what do students need to do to complete in order to do the European Master's program in landscape architecture, this EMiLA?
For anyone who's interested to do this European Master in Landscape Architecture, I think first, of course, you have to apply and get accepted at an university, and then you complete your first semester at your home institution. Then you go to your 2 exchange semesters, and during these 2 exchange semesters, there's also a summer school that's 1 week and an e-learning program that's specifically for this program. And then you go back after these 2 exchange semesters to write your master thesis. So these are the few steps you have to do to complete the EMiLA program, I would say.
Okay, cool. Sounds easy.
Yeah.
Would you do it again or would you do it differently?
I think I would do it again. I really liked my exchange semesters. I think sometimes it was a bit stressful and I lost myself a bit in planning, but in retrospective, I noticed that I learned a lot, not only about landscape architecture, but also about myself. Yeah.
Cool. And like we're coming to the end of this episode. Do you have any tips for our listeners? A book or a medium you encountered during your studies or that like had a particular impact on you? Like, either is it something to do with landscape architecture or more of self-development kind of thing? Do you have any tip?
I think in Barcelona, I had to do a presentation about Anne Wisten-Spern. I don't know if you have heard about her, but she's a landscape architect in the US, and she's a bit a pioneer in this whole participatory landscape architecture practices. Um, and find that I found her work really interesting, and I think I would suggest to have a look into her work. And also, a book that I enjoyed looking through was, I think it's called The Planting Design Handbook from Nick Robinson, because it has very cute illustrations, and I just really liked reading and using that book to learn more about planting design.
Cool. Oh, very useful tips. I will definitely look into that.
Yes, of course.
Cool. Okay, these are really nice words to finish. I hope you listeners and viewers have enjoyed this episode. It was really cool talking to you, Hélène. Thank you really much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I also had a great pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. I hope to see you or talk to you again soon, or maybe in another episode. And yeah, now to you listeners, do you have any more questions to Hélène? Do you want to know something more? Or do you have your own experiences you want to share with us? Have you done the EMiLA program or something similar? Write it in the comments on Instagram or on Spotify, or write us an email. We would be really happy to hear from you. And yeah, every source we mentioned is down in the show notes in the description. You can scroll it through and also find the key points of this episode. And yeah, thank you for listening. I am Rahel Küng.
And I am Hélène Hang.
See you next time again in our podcast, Next Generation Landscape Architecture. Bye-bye.